evening. Professor Thomas, Sister Vinita, Sister Suchita, Jacob George, eminent citizens of Ernakulam, Cochin, and my dear students, and the media who have come here to attend this evening. It gives me immense pleasure to be in a very old institution, and an institution which was the first of its kind, providing university level education for girls, first of its kind in the state of Kochi, the former state of Kochi, and to be older than the University of Kerala, because you've been affiliated to the Madras University first, and then to the Travancore University, and then when Travancore University became Kerala, you became affiliated to Kerala University. So in so many ways, you've set yourself apart and ahead of the times, and you've maintained that stature till today. The National Institutional Framework, ranking framework, also has given you a very high place of all the learning centers in India. You're in the top 50. So it's definitely a pleasure and a very heartwarming event in my consideration today to be here. And I thank from the bottom of my heart Professor K.V. Thomas for having given me this opportunity, and not just an opportunity, but has given me that indulgence to have cancelled it once because I just couldn't make the date. But he was gracious enough to extend it nevertheless. I know there's going to be an interaction, and therefore I'll keep my talk very concise. But it's important to mention here that for the commitment with which this college has not just done its academic responsibilities, but has cared about society around in the neighborhood and so on, and for the way in which you've been environment conscious and supporting in one of the villages nearby for an Anganwadi center, I think, not so much the village, but the Anganwadi center, in 2021 itself. I recall Prime Minister Modi had spoken about this college in Man Ki Baat for creating a safe, soft toys basket for the Anganwadi children. I appreciate the management, the teachers, the principal, the vice principal, for giving that element of learning to the students, that they need to give some time for people around us, particularly for children and women. Equally, I'm grateful to Professor K.V. Thomas's Vidyadhanam Trust, which seems to be supportive of education and education-related activities, not just giving scholarships to bright students, but also to take care of 140 students, 140 schools in which nutritious midday meals are being provided, and Vijnana Vidhi is also providing science education support, motivational book support to students in class 11, providing of meritorious student scholarships of 2,500 rupees to students who have passed SSLC and who are passing +2 and going in for higher education. Also providing meritorious students funds and scholarship for pursuing higher education over and above all this. So in this day and age, in a state like Kerala, which is known for its literacy, Professor K.V. Thomas's service to the cause of education is very distinct, and I really appreciate him and respect him for his service. There is so much that I would want to talk to young minds, but since, as I said before, we have an interaction, I'd rather give more time for it. We are living in an India where At best, the people's efforts are all paying off. The government's policies are supportive, and as a result, we are simultaneously pushing all levers to make sure the growth is sustained. The World Bank and the IMF have recognized that we'll be continuing to be the fastest growing economy even this year. And India is growing as a knowledge hub. We are innovation based, and I'm happy to say that that will be the few topics that I would like to touch upon standing in Kerala, because Kerala is setting itself apart in standing out in the number of startups who are growing in specialized areas like space, and also being supportive of very many knowledge-based R&D activities. With two examples, I'll explain that, but before that, I'd like to highlight the fact that in Kerala, probably the fourth largest in the country, we have for every 50 lakh population, a college. That's one of the densest prevalence of colleges in the country, and that is related to the population size, and that is the third highest, I correct myself, third highest and not the fourth highest, and that is the All India Survey on Higher Education. So that came out in 2020, 2021. That density and the prevalence of colleges in densely populated areas has helped access to higher education for very many students who would have otherwise found it difficult to reach educational centers. I'm talking to Kerala and Kerala's youth at a time when the world is seeing an industrial revolution of a different kind. It is technically called the Industrial Revolution 4.0, counting from the first industrial revolution, the various stages where newer aspects have brought in for revolutionizing the industrial approach to producing, storing, and serving the country. Now, the Industrial Revolution 4.0 is guided by artificial learning, meaning virtual tools, artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, and all the kind of big data analytics with which this revolution is going to happen is largely fed by young minds which are spending a lot of time in researching and innovating techniques. And that is why Kerala can be a leader in this. In fact, I'll go one step further. India can be a leader in this Industrial Revolution 4.0 because our youth are very talented. They are spending a lot of time in creating out-of-the-box solutions, in situ solutions, using innovative ways. And India, since its aspirations are very high, and we want to build up on things without losing any more time because our aspirations are high. We want to achieve goals which many countries have taken 50 years to achieve, but we want to achieve that in the next decade itself, and nothing wrong with it. In fact, when we have youth population, which is all very inclined to give us solutions, which are technologically sound, out-of-the-box solutions, we will attain that goal on the strength of our youth who are coming up with such solutions. And in that, I would think Kerala can be the leader not just for India. You can probably become the brand ambassadors for this kind of an innovative method. Because it's happening simultaneously, I'd like to refer to this audience about the PM Internship program, which is very much aimed at giving access to students or just completed people who've come out of colleges and schools, that bridge which is so required that when students come out of educational institutions and for them to get into jobs, there is a perceived gap. That gap is the employability gap. You are employable because you think you've got your right degrees. Employers looking at something more as well. And when your qualifications are just good enough, but actually it requires a bit more pepping up, you have to have that bridge exposure after which you become really sought after by employees. Otherwise, employers, many of them recruit and spend about 6 to 8 months or even a year in getting you ready for that job. What PM's internship scheme, which was announced in the budget, does for us is to give that exposure for students or just graduated people to get into top 500 companies, spend 12 months, for which Government of India pays you a monthly allowance of 5,000 rupees and a one-time preparatory allowance of 6,000 rupees. And the companies give you exposure to such skills which are required before you enter the jobs. I will give you a bit more data to say what, as of this morning, we have got regarding the top 500 companies which have come on board to say, yes, we will give internship opportunities for students. From among those companies which have come forward, 39 companies, and all these companies are top 500 and they're present all over the country, 39 of them have given opportunities which can be executed in Kerala. 1,800 internship opportunities are made available for Kerala. As of today, it will grow. It is going to run for some more time. So as of this morning, from the top 500 companies, 1,800 internship opportunities are available in Kerala, and it is 1/3 of all the offerings made by companies which is present in Ernakulam itself. So 1,800 for Kerala and 1/3 of it in Ernakulam. And these opportunities are available for you in manufacturing, in automobiles, textiles, banking and financial sector, travel and tourism, and in hospitality. So they give you exposure in every one of these, meaning whichever student, whichever candidate goes in one of them, that will be the exposure he gains. And the exposure within the companies range from operations management, sales and marketing, maintenance, research and development, design, and product development. In all these areas, these companies are giving you exposure. So, for a Kerala which, for instance, in 2022 was announced as a best performer state in forming startups, that was done, the announcement came in January 2024 that you have formed, you've given the right kind of ecosystem for startups, and therefore you are one of those energetic states which supports young people wanting to start up on innovative thoughts. You, particularly in space sector, I'd like to highlight that. As I told you at the beginning that I'll give you two examples. One is the space sector. In India, after the policy to open up space for private participation, which was done in the 2021 budget, there are 190 space-related startups in the country. In merely 3 years after the policy announcement, you've got this many. And private investments coming into them are 75% having attained that level even within the first 3 years, between 21 and 23. Why is that so much effective in Kerala? Because you have the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, the Liquid Propulsion Systems Center, and also the Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology, all in some way associated with the ISRO, and as a result, you have that kind of a exposure. And also, India is becoming the second largest market for e-learning. That's a second option that I want to put before you for your consideration. It's a $6 billion market, and the potential of it reaching 10 billion in another 1 year itself, within 2025. E-learning and also the EdTech market will reach that level. So there's immense scope for all of us to be able to take up activities related to that sector as well. And Kerala's maritime area, with 17 non-major and 1 major Kochi port, there is so much of activity for maritime related activities and startups. I like to highlight that. India already is recognized by the WTO as constituting or placing itself in the 4th rank as regards digitally delivered services. So in technology-related activities, we are already capturing higher and higher levels, but with this kind of an exposure, the biggest important development in the last few years is the global capability centers which are getting set up in India, and that gives immense job opportunities for our young and talented people. 1,700 global capability centers are established in India, and they are in the fields of innovation and R&D as well. Nearly 50% of the GCC's earnings, the revenue that they earn, come from R&D service. So they're just not BPO centers attending to phone calls of companies which have to be run, but they're doing pioneering work in R&D as well. So when the Prime Minister of India opened up the digital park in Thiruvananthapuram in April 2023, these are the kind of developments for which the fundamental infrastructure is being created. And I strongly hope and wish that students from Kerala benefit from this lead advantage. Kerala has always led in knowledge-based activities. And I'm sure with this background, I've just touched some important points. With this background, Kerala and its youth can contribute not just for Kerala, not just for India, but for the globe in a technology-driven, knowledge-driven era, Industrial Revolution 4.0. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Next, we move on to the much-awaited session of the evening. The time has arrived for the young minds to battle. We have students from various colleges and prestigious institutions joining us today. Over to our moderator for the day, Sri Jacob George. All the very best.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ma'am Nirmala Sitharaman, for having announced such glorious things before you, the student community in Kochi. Ma'am has taken interest in coming over. In spite of her, she has come here in spite of her flight having been cancelled today morning. So she's in a hurry to go back. She has just come to meet you, the students in Kochi, the cross-section of the student community in Kerala, the best of India, Ma'am. So the teams, hope you are ready. I would like to give you just a notice that the questions have to be precise. One team will have only one question for the first round. There are already 19 teams. So make every question as brief as possible, no frills. So we are directly getting into the interaction. The first college, Aquinas College, Kochi. At Aquinas College, Kochi, please get up and please stand up. And one of you can raise the question.
Hello, ma'am. My name is Munib Ahmadiyya. I'm a student from Aquinas College, Kochi. I'm a BSc Physics third year student. Ma'am, you mentioned about the prompt and steady economic growth of India as a nation. And my question is, despite the significant economic growth in the past few years, income disparity remains a serious and growing concern in India. What measures has the government taken yet and will continue to take to face this challenge? Ma'am, I would like to ask a three-parter question. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Should I answer this now?
Yeah, you can. The answer from ma'am.
Thank you very much for that question. It is important that we understand that the income disparity that we are talking about is a very important thing, because we do not want disparity become such a contentious issue, because every individual has got to find resources to run his family, to take care of his children and the dependents. And also, he should have the dignity of labor. The money that he earns should be sufficient to take care of his family. But nevertheless, there are support schemes that government announces. And not just this government, even earlier, every government has tried to supplement the income of people who really can't earn, for whatever reason, enough to take care of the families. Whether it is the public distribution through which you give them grains, whether it is certain subsidies that you provide for them, or you try to give them assistance to build their homes for which they can't put upfront money. So in all these ways, governments have tried to support. And the way in which our government has done is to make sure, because of the pandemic and from the time of the pandemic, not debating whether they are in a position now and not in a position just in 2020, ensuring that people don't go hungry to bed. Everybody who deserves or deserve is determined on the kind of income that they earn, given food grains through the public distribution system. Not just enough, but sufficient so that they can make sure that they get enough grains to support their family. So what was given as the quantum determined by the Right to Food Act was doubled. So if they were getting 5 kgs, they are now getting plus 5 kgs. If they were getting 5 kgs at 3 rupees per kg for rice, now they get it all for free, the first 5 kg and the next 5 kgs. So the poor gets the free grains, and they also get government subsidy in building. Subsidy in the sense they're given cash to build their pakka houses. They don't need to live in juggies or jompadis, as they say, in hutments or thatched roofs per make pakka houses. So they don't need to spend money on that. They can keep that money for some other reason. Third, the biggest spending out of pocket is for health and health related matters. In order that they don't spend their hard-earned money on treating one of the members of the family, 5 lakh rupees has been given for them in the name of a Ayushman Bharat card, which they can go to the hospital, not spend money in giving fee payment to the doctors or for medicines, and therefore they get treatment. Now that has been extended to every 75-year-old or more senior citizens as well. Together with this, the government has been running medical shops, which are, the generic medical stores. So the money spent on branded medicine and generic medicine being different from one another, in the sense generic medicines cost 1/3 of what the person would otherwise spend on his basic medical medicines that he needs to buy. So in these kind of ways, the government has been ensuring that, helping them by giving assistance where cash need not be spent and the government takes care of their expenditure. We hope that the poor and those who are in the, just below the poverty line are given the support, and thereby giving them real income support in that sense.
Okay, we can move on to the next team, St. Paul's College, Alua. St. Paul's. Please stand up. St. Paul's.
So good evening.
Where are you?
So good evening.
Okay. Yeah.
So I am myself Arun from St. Paul's College. Ma'am, in the year 2020, the central government had discontinued the LPG gas subsidy for most people with the exemption of PM Ujjwala Yojana. Taking the budget of 2024-25, subsidies accounted for just 6% of the total government expenditure. Is the government considering phasing out subsidies as it is being held that subsidies become a burden for the government?
I don't know where this last line of yours has come. Subsidy as a burden on the government? Subsidy is given to support the poor. Subsidy is given to make sure that the poor don't suffer for want of basic necessities. In fact, in answering the first question, I did not even talk about the Ujjwala subsidy. Thank you for bringing that into the debate. That goes to help the poorest of the poor, that they don't need to depend on charcoal or cow dung or wood and suffer because of the smoke which comes out of it. PM Modi continuously says about it, saying, I don't want our women or elderly people who are going and making their own cup of tea in the kitchen to suffer because of the smoke. There were data which was released at that time. Apparently, if a family spends, or the lady in the house sits before the smoke-filled kitchen, making a morning meal and an evening meal, the smoke that she inhales is equivalent to smoking 400 cigarettes, is what was the data at that time that we had been given very clearly. That is not healthy, and in order to keep the family healthy and the women in particular healthy was this Ujjwala scheme. Even today, the center gives the subsidy for Ujjwala, for all those subscribers of Ujjwala. So there is no way in which subsidy is seen as a burden, not at all.
Okay, SEMS School of Engineering and Technology. SEMS? Yeah.
A very good evening, ma'am. I'm Fuad Zainin from SEMS School of Engineering Technology, pursuing my BTech in Computer Science with AI. So my question is, with the rapid advancement of technology and the rise of the gig economy, what specific fiscal and regulatory frameworks is the government considering to ensure that young professionals, freelancers and gig workers have access to long-term financial security and job security?
See, that is where there are 2 or 3 schemes of the government, which are, again, that will answer the second question and the first question. Supporting people who do not have any assets. When you take loans from the bank, or when you want to expand your business, or you just want to make sure that you're going through the process of, saving, you don't have sufficient, but you still want to have some kind of a roof on your head, over your head, so you want to build a small house, or you want to buy a vehicle, or you want to make sure that the little street side shop that you're holding gets some money to expand. You want to get more, a table to display it or something like that. That is where the government has come up with more than, if I'm right, 4 schemes where the beneficiary doesn't have to give any security to obtain the loan. Meaning, you go into a bank, you want to set up, you want to expand your small business, they would say, please give me somebody guarantor signature. Some person who's working in the government should come and say, I guarantee his loan. If he fails to pay it, I'll pay it, a guarantor. Or you give a fixed deposit that you have, and that fixed deposit will be taken as a security by the bank. In such schemes as PM Mudra, for small businesses, for street vendors, PM Swanidhi, I'm giving just 2 of them as example. No security is taken from them. So you go to a bank and I say, look, I have this business in the street corner. I want to buy some equipment, a bartan or some table or some raw material. You get a loan, and that is without security. This kind of government standing as security for small businesses has helped a lot of people. Today, MSMEs, in Kerala, I know a lot of small businesses run. They will never get a loan if they go to a bank, because they will say, no, I'll give you working capital, you take it. But for buying some equipments, plant and machinery, as they say for big industries, for MSMEs also, we have come up in this budget, this year's budget, with a scheme which is without security. So thinking in terms of helping the smallest of small, you kept referring to gig workers. They have been given social security cover. And the premium for that social security is very small amount. for which they are covered if they fall ill or if they have, injured their limb that they cannot any longer do the business, or unfortunately, God forbid, if something happens to their life, their dependents will get some money. So there is Jeevan Bima Suraksha Yojana, Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, and one more. So Jeevan Suraksha Yojana. So two, one for life, one for accident, insurance covers are made available for all of them.
Okay, move on to the next team. The judges are okay, right? Where are the judges? Okay. Sri Sarada Vidyalaya, Kaladi. Sri Sarada. Come on.
Good evening, Miss. My name is Jose Linson. I'm studying in 11th standard in Sri Sharda Vidyalaya. My question to you is, Miss, Kerala is one of the most developed states in India. I think it is the, pardon me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the third most developed state in India with great healthcare and education. So, but we are also facing massive brain drain, people capable of doing great are leaving the country for better opportunities in Europe and to US. So how do we in the future stop this from happening?
This question, I don't know who are the judges. The young man is really pushing me to answer politically. I do not know if I should say that. But I'll also give to the credit of Kerala. It's not yesterday, it's not today, it is not for last 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Kerala has always had this entrepreneurial spirit. People were very enterprising. They would want to work hard and make sure that they earn and support their family, for which they did not hesitate to go offshore, go away to far distant land and earn their living. This is not just today, it's been for years, centuries. And therefore that tradition continues, is the very without malice answer. With a little bit of malice, if you allow me. I think it is important for us to recognize that, as I said in my opening statement, India is providing the knowledge base for global industrial activity today. We are the leaders in providing solutions. We are the leaders in running very complicated network of businesses. You missed out on saying about Middle East. You said Europe and US. Half Kerala you will see in Middle East. And that is not wrong. The oil network, the Middle Eastern economies have so much to see, the way in which people from Kerala have gone there, and the complicated refining, extracting, and running of that business, building modern cities, networking them to the globe, are thanks to the great entrepreneurial young people who have gone from Kerala to Middle East. So the contribution has been a lot cerebral, a lot manual, and a lot disciplined team participant. That's what Kerala has contributed to many of these economies. And today, technology has developed so much that you can do all that and more being in Kerala. That's thanks to the technology. But why still you wouldn't want to be here? It's because despite the technology, we are still thinking of 1960s India, where we will ask for no kukuli.
No kukuli.
Am I saying it right? No kukuli? So we still think that we can hold the capacity of a person who can contribute his productive, knowledge-based skill to build value to a business, to create value to the commercial activity, and therefore give contribution to the economy and also contribute to himself, no longer can be so unionized. The no-kukuli and related problems should get out of Kerala. Otherwise, you won't have Kerala people coming into Kerala. I'm sorry to give you one twist of a political answer, but essential quality of a Kerala person is to work hard, work sincerely, and work to develop his family and the state. We need to give them the space. And the global knowledge economy desperately needs more of it. And that is why I think the opportunities are immense for Kerala.
Okay. Even our Chief Minister is against Nokuvuli. Despite his being a Marxist. Okay, thank you. And next question goes to Government College, Tripunithura.
Good evening, ma'am. Myself, Vinayak, student from Government College, Tripunithura. As now there has been more startups and all coming, and what is has to be done to improve our financial literacy to young people so that we can make better financial decisions on our personal and professional lives?
Thank you. Very relevant question for today. You know, from childhood, we need to have that education given to students, and we should not wait for them to become adults to understand how to handle their money. In olden days, where money was seen only as cash or coins, families taught children to save. We had our own, mud or clay-made little container to which we put coins, and only on some ceremony days we open it up, and with that the child would be allowed to buy something for herself or himself, or to give some gift or something, or to give for a cause. Today that has become even more complicated because money is seen in the banks, in the cards, sometimes through phone payments, all of which has made transaction easy. But the quality and the feature of saving has become that much more complicated. And therefore, for children to understand it, we still need to tell them what are the ways in which that money can be saved, other than the just idyllic way of, the piggy bank saving into which you put a coin and save it. There are very many different ways to save. But I would think equally important is not just to tell them how to save and what is safe saving, we also should teach them as to how they should be extra cautious about not getting entrapped into some fake advice which is being given. Today you have people's accounts being taken away, and in this very elderly, knowledgeable people who have led their life successfully are getting entrapped by fake callers who are taking all the details of their bank accounts, and without their permission money is drawn and taken away. Therefore there should be two ways of financial literacy to be built. One, how to save, how best to save, and saving should be your first expense, as some bank had it some time back. Let your first expenditure be saving. Used to be a nice catchy way of saying don't spend before you save. So one aspect is to save, and the other is to keep your savings careful, to keep it protected from fraudsters. So both of it will have to start. I know the Reserve Bank of India, the Securities Board of India, Exchanges Board of India, SEBI, and many other institutions are doing their a little bit, but more has to be done.
Okay, move on to the next team, TD Institute of Teacher Education, Mattancheri.
Good evening, ma'am. My name is Sri Lakshmi Shankar. I'm a student from TD TTI, Mattancheri. My question is, the housewife of Indian household have been toiling the kitchen for decades. They were unpaid, and the only return they used to get was self-satisfaction. As a central chief minister, finance minister, what was your good stand about the issue? Can they expect some welfare measure from the government?
Um, there are quite a few things in your question which I wouldn't want to get mixed up. They have to be treated separately. First of all, India and the Western way of looking at individuals is slightly different. In the Western world, it is so driven by individuals, and therefore every individual's work contribution was assessed because everybody went out of the house to work. And when they got old, the family did not give them any space. They had to live in a hospice or an elder home or so on. India's structures are such we don't have yet that kind of an approach. We still think family as the center around which only everything else is woven. And that is why you find that elder care, we recognize that senior citizens need medical facility, we have given them Ayushman Bharat. But the role of women, yes, is underestimated. Whether they should be monetized based on the work that they do at home or even otherwise monetized is a very, very valuable debate. And I think these are kind of things which we should speak about with an intention of even every bit of work done by any member of the family has to be respected, and they contribute to the wealth of the family is a due thing which women should be given credit for. And therefore, just to monetize may not be the answer, but how do you respect and how do you give them the credit for it may probably start with one step, but more has to be discussed on these issues.
Next, Chinmaya College, Tripundra.
Oh, it is only in this college that I'm seeing a team. The others, only one chap stood up, and mostly men stood up.
Thank you, ma'am. So, over to my team member for asking the question.
Hariom, ma'am. I am Prithvi V. Prabhu, and I am a member of the team representing Chinmaya College, Tripunithra. The question, being a female and living in a society which empowers females, the use of sanitary napkins and other hygiene products has been a part of our daily lives, which is not actually a choice but also a need. So the rising prices of these products up to a level that most of the women are not able to afford them has been a concern. So is there any way in which the government can create a price ceiling for the same?
First of all, let me inform you, ma'am, I'm glad you raised this question, and it is important for personal hygiene. And I'm grateful to the Prime Minister because he's somebody who spoke about hygiene even from Red Fort. That hesitation, the qualms that people had saying some subjects should never be talked in public were all thrown to the wind. He said, no, I want sanitation in this country. I want Swachhata. He also spoke about toilet training and so on. So in that context, even the GST we had been talking about, the sanitary napkin and so on. For your information, just as the answer that I gave for the first question, Jan Aushadhi Kendras, which sell non-branded but quality products, do sell sanitary napkin, and they are sold at 1 rupee each. So that was a step taken by Government of India. And that Jan Aushadhi Kendra is available all over the country. It's brought down the cost of medical expenditure of a family by nearly 60%, I'm generically saying. And in that place, you get your sanitary napkin even for 1 rupee.
Yes, ma'am, but including that, despite of no pink tax and provision of such sanitary napkins, the availability of environment-friendly napkins are not available in our country compared to others.
Well, that is something which I need to discuss with the industry ministry to see what are the best ways in which we can bring in more environment-friendly ones. But the Jan Aushadhi sanitary napkins are very much environment-friendly.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next team, Chinmaya Vishwa Vidyapeeth, Onapur.
I'm Durga Suresh Verma from Chinmaya University doing my bachelor's in psychology. So thank you, ma'am, for taking this opportunity to answer our questions. So my question is, you had mentioned certain schemes that bridge the gap between employability and industry. So in the changing scenario of students migrating abroad, isn't it high time for us to give opportunities to students to earn while they are studying and to get to know about the policies that will help them? So how can we make it possible at a grassroots level?
Nothing stops them from doing that now. To make it as a credit giving, meaning score giving aspect, the new education policy has brought in a lot of changes into the way in which skills can be provided for students. And the skill, time spent on acquiring skill gets added to your scores, in the final scores that you get before you leave with a qualification. So the new education policy is actually drafted to help people to acquire multiple learning processes and make them a part of the final certificate. There is some attempt being made. I'll certainly like to see how effective it is working out.
Okay, Maharaja's College, Ernakulam.
Good evening, ma'am. You and I, both women, deeply understand the silent, often invisible struggles we endure, juggling the weight of our ambitions with societal expectations and even the realities of our own bodies. Despite our best efforts, India's female labor force participation languishes at a mere 32.8%, one of the lowest globally, against 77.8% of men. While policies like menstrual leave are vital in respecting the dignity and health of women, they also come with the unintended risk of employers seeing us as a liability rather than an asset. The fear that additional cost or absenteeism could prevent countless talented women from being hired or promoted is real and disheartening. So as a woman who has seen several shattered glass ceilings, how can we create policies that champion the health and well-being of women, such as menstrual leave, while also ensuring these very policies don't become the barriers that hold us back, so that every woman is seen as an indispensable force driving India's growth and not as a burden? And this is a question from the economics department, and we have a question from a counterpart from the political science department also.
No, sorry. One question.
Okay. Ma'am then.
So is this the question, or is the question of the political science department going to be the question from your college?
No, then we'll go with this question then.
Okay, just a minute.
Is that all right?
The list is too long, that's why.
Okay, so
I think the policy, I can list a lot, but one thing I'll straight away tell you is, in a country which had had only 3 months as maternity leave. I know you're specifically focusing on menstrual issues, but I'm giving this as an example to say how our government has been more in favor of getting women coming into work. So where there was only about a 3-month period given as maternity leave, our government has increased it to 6 months of maternity leave for women. One. Second, for girls who have to go and work and for want of staying places, working women's hostel, both in the GST Council, we ensured that we removed high taxation and allowed it for exemption, meaning exemption-free hostels could be built. Similarly, we are giving viability gap funding for promoters who want to build hostel accommodation for women so that they can come and work, stay there, and go for visiting their parents in the weekend or something. So want of working women's hostel should be gotten over. So we've actively come in to say, we will give you the funding for it, please build it, and then draw women to stay there. So particularly for working women, there are quite a few steps taken by. I've just given you 2 examples.
Next, SH College, Tevara. Yeah, come on. SH.
Good evening, ma'am. My name is Jonathan Peter, and I'm from Sacred Arts College, Devra. I'm a first-year economics student. So my question to you is, recently the World Wildlife Fund had released its Living Planet report that had stated that India's food consumption pattern is the most sustainable pattern amongst the G20 countries. India's millet initiative was appreciated for this achievement. Other countries were also encouraged to adopt such initiatives, which eventually opens up a vast market for millets. In this context, there is more scope for millets and other agricultural products. So as the Finance Minister of India, how do you intend to motivate the young generation to choose commercial agriculture as a profession?
Actually, the government's first major step was to recognize coarse grains. Millet is one of them. And coarse grains as a superfood. So we even started calling it Sri Anna. Anna is your chawal, right? Your rice. But Sri Anna is the millet, and about 8 of them are recognized as superfoods. There was this fad that countries were importing quinoa from somewhere in Latin America. Whereas in India, our farmers have been growing millets for centuries. And they were climate friendly, sustainable, could grow in degraded land also. It could grow without irrigation, could grow even with poor rains. But they were packed with nutrition. So it was our government which went to the UN and said, you must hold a year of the millet. And that is why in 2023, globally it was celebrated. And in India, we have recognized every state and their millet products. Millet growing farmers are also now being included in some of the MSP related schemes. We are now setting up in districts within India, which are rich in growing millets, value addition through industry. Big companies like ITC are going in those areas and saying ragi biscuits, nutritive atta for making rotis at home out of millets, and so on. So we are actively promoting the growth and ready-to-eat millet-based products.
CUSAT Law College, CUSAT Ernakulam.
To the Honorable Finance Minister of India, it is our absolute pleasure to have you address our concerns here at the wonderful Sacred Heart, St. Teresa's College. We're from the School of Legal Studies, CUSAT, and our question is, given the current scenario, where job security is a huge cause of concern for youngsters falling within the age group of 18 to 24, internships tend to play a major role in increasing a student's ability to acquire and secure better jobs, which provide more job security, which in a broader perspective is essential for the economy. As of yesterday, the portal for internship scheme from this year's union budget has been declared open, and it has garnered 1.55 lakh registrations. While this is a matter of celebration, does this entail its expansion to include a larger number of students and different academic starters of students as well? Because I believe that it includes the students from the age of 21 to 24, and it has the potential to include students from a younger age group as well.
You're right in saying it's 1.5 lakh students who have registered since the day when it was opened, which is 12th. It was opened at 5 p.m. of 12th. The budget has announced that it will do the internship for students for 1 crore students in the 5 coming years, this year and 4 years afterwards. So there is immense scope for more people to have this exposure and get given the internship, and as a result, the employability gap can be bridged by them. So we are looking to expand it. It's not stopping. This is only a pilot that we have launched as of 12th, but the budgetary announcement is for 1 crore students and in the next 5 years.
Next, St. Teresa's College, they have come with 3 teams. I am selecting one from them. That's Department of Economics, St. Teresa's.
Good evening, ma'am. We're students of the Economics Department from St. Teresa's College. And our question is that Kochi is recognized as one of the smart cities in the country. The Smart City mission has significantly contributed to the city's infrastructure development. However, this mission is set to conclude by March 31st, 2025. And in your opinion, has the Smart City mission achieved all of its objectives? If not, what are the reasons for not continuing such an initiative? And from an economic standpoint, wouldn't it be detrimental to dismiss a progressive mission like this? And what would be an alternative?
Well, I'm not sure about the appraisal on this. It is under the Ministry of Urban Development. It is for them to assess how this is working and whether they would want to continue in the current fashion, continue in different fashion. All that is up to them. So the mission was very actively pursued for the last several years. I can see many cities of India really having benefited from it. Kochi is one, Indore is another. These are cities which are competing to be the best cities in India. So the mission actually has worked well. We'll have to see how the Ministry of Urban Development wants to take it forward.
So, thank you very much, ma'am. The deadline is on us. We have to stop this right now. There are 4 more colleges who have come late. So we are very sorry to call it a day. So now, over to the judges. Judges? Okay. Marshall? K.V. Thomas Marsh, who is the brain behind this project, now we'll give you a few words.
നമ്മുടെ മുഖ്യാതിഥി നിർമ്മല സീതാരാമന് എയർപോർട്ടിൽ പോയേണ്ട സമയമായിട്ടുണ്ട്. കാരണം ട്രാഫിക് പ്രശ്നങ്ങളുള്ളതുകൊണ്ട് പോലീസ് അറിയിച്ചിരിക്കുന്ന 6 മണിക്ക് ഇവിടെ നിന്ന് പുറപ്പെടണം എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. അതിൽ കുറച്ച് കോളേജുകളെ നമുക്ക് അവസാനം വന്നവരെ പങ്കെടുപ്പിക്കാൻ കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടില്ല. നിങ്ങളുടെ കാര്യത്തിലൊക്കെ നിങ്ങളെയും കൂടി വേണമെന്ന് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ആഗ്രഹമുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ പോലും പ്രായോഗികമായി കഴിയാവുന്ന സംഗതിയാണ്. പക്ഷേ പങ്കെടുത്തവരുടെ കാര്യത്തിൽ